And he would fleece his clients, he'd rob his clients. He used to have an 80 grand a month cocaine habit. You'd see ministers, you'd see judges, you'd see CEOs of multi-billion-pound companies all just indulging in huge amounts of drugs. And the wife left and took the kids.
This undercover investigation exposes an investment banker who accidentally exposes one too many secrets.
And make a ton of money. So much so they didn't realise, because it was just small change, pocket money for them. And the other 500,000 he'd stick away in his own personal account, So, between me and you, I used to have an 80 grand a month cocaine habit. I'd cheat on my wife all the time. I'd be spending about $1 grand a month on prostitutes. She didn't know about that, of course. I mean, she knew I was cheating on her. She didn't know they were prostitutes. But no, I remember my early days in investment banking. I was taken out one evening by these experienced gentlemen in the firm, and they took me to this place in Soho in London. And it was down this dark, dingy, grubby little alley. And I remember there being crackheads and homeless people all scattered around. And I just remember thinking, what the f*** am I doing here? So I recall there was this big door, this big steel massive door. And we went through that, and it led into the staircase, winding down to the basement. And as you walked in, those chairs you had at school, the plastic chairs. There was kind of a ring of them, and there was actually 40 blokes all sat around, suited up and drinking and laughing. And in the middle of all this, there were these these two naked women. I hope they were women. They were very young, maybe 18, and they were wrestling with each other. And I just remember thinking, this is mental. And everyone around me was doing lines and lines and lines, and they were grabbing the women, and they were grabbing and harassing the ladies who were wrestling. And it just blew my mind, completely blew my mind what was going on. That's really my first foray, as it were, into this underworld of people. But as time goes on, you you become more ingrained with this group and just fine with this world, and you enjoy the world and you love it. And I remember we'd go to different places around London, and you'd see everyone. You'd see ministers, you'd see judges, you'd see CEOs of multi-billion-pound companies all just indulging in huge amounts of drugs, degrading themselves, degrading women, and once you're in that world, I suppose it's jolly hard to get out, really. But eventually the habit kind of outweighs the job, and you end up spending vast sums of money, money you don't have, and you have to kind of look down other avenues to see if you could raise any more funds. There was this chap I knew, actually. He worked for the same firm as me, and he would fleece his clients, he'd rob his clients. And what he'd do was he'd ask them, say, for £1 million for an investment opportunity. So they'd give him the million, and then he'd invest 500,000 on the opportunity and make a ton of money. So much so they didn't realise, because it was just small change, pocket money for them. And the other 500,000 he'd stick away in his own personal account. He'd steal it, put it away in his bank account. And because the original 500 was making so much money, the investors had no idea. Little did they know they would have been making double if he'd have put the original $1 million on. And the other 500,000, he blew it in a month. On drugs, on women, cars, and lovely holidays, and really nice stuff. But at the end of the day, he was blowing someone else's cash. Well, anyway, I thought this was a splendid idea, so I began doing it myself, and I began fleecing some clients. I was taking home easily £850,000 a month, and it became almost a full-time job. It was spend. I couldn't spend it fast enough. The wife and kids were happy because I'd give them my original salary, which was already a hefty amount, and then all the other stuff, all the stuff on the side would go up my nose. Spend them on women, spend them on cars, fancy champagne lunches. Yeah, it's good times. But of course, everything that goes up must sadly come down, and eventually my clients discovered I was ripping them off. I was sacked from my job. And the wife left and took the kids, and yeah, that was that really. But I don't regret it at all. I never saw any prison time for anything I did, and I managed to scribble enough away to bugger off abroad and not really at all. So yeah, I retired at 35 and not done a day's work since. So I care.
I mean, wouldn't we all love to retire about 30, 35, jet off, live somewhere hot without a care in the world? But we're not going to go about it the same way as him, because we have morals. I'll say no more. What do we think of this guy? Let us know in the comments below. And if you've got any videos that you want to share that's gone viral, do send them over. And if it gets featured, you receive £100.